Elon Musk is officially the richest person in the world with an ever-growing fortune of $247 billion. And if you think that's a lot of money, it's only gonna grow. So we just had to wonder, how much money does Elon actually have? And what are the things he would have to do to spend all of his money? Would he be able to buy like 10 Lamborghinis or one mega yacht? Well, let's take a look at the insane purchases he can make with his money. Number 10. The world government. Imagine buying the entire government. Well, you could if you had Elon's net worth. You would be able to bribe every single politician in the world and still have money left over. In fact, you'd have enough money to pay off the national debt of pretty much any country you wanted. If you wanted to live out your monarch fantasy, you could buy an entire country for all of your friends and family to live in and become the ruler of that nation. So yeah, you could certainly do a lot of damage with $247 billion. But even if you didn't want to rule a country, you could at least buy one. You could buy Greenland for about $168 million. You could buy Dominica for about $390 million. Or you could opt for a slightly bigger country like Lithuania for about $1.7 billion. Now, unfortunately, this trick won't work if you tried to buy the United States. As a Forbes article explains, because the US Constitution doesn't allow for the sale of public land, you wouldn't be able to purchase the US, but that shouldn't stop you from trying to buy the White House, which you could do for a presidential price tag of $4.9 million. Number 9. One Last Supper. Do you know how much Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper is worth? It's priceless. That's right. The iconic painting cannot be given a monetary value because it's so important historically and artistically. There's no amount of money that could be paid to acquire it. But hey, if you've got $247 billion burning a hole in your pocket, why not try? Who knows? The Mona Lisa was stolen in 1911 and sold for a mere 60,000 francs, so maybe you'll get lucky. No. 8. A war. Wars are expensive, but not nearly as expensive as Elon Musk's net worth. In fact, you could fund quite a few wars with his money. For instance, the Iraq War cost about $2 trillion, so Elon could easily cover that and still have $45 billion left over. Another example is the Afghanistan War, which cost about $1.6 trillion. So once again, Elon could cover that and still have a whopping $81 billion left over. With that kind of money, you could fight your own personal war and never run out of funds. Number 7. Buy all the houses. Okay, so let's say you don't want to buy a country or start your own war. What about real estate? How much real estate could you buy with $247 billion? Well, according to Business Insider, you could buy every single house in Las Vegas, and you'd still have $165 billion left over. Can you imagine having enough money to literally buy an entire city? Insane. Let's try something a little more realistic though, like buying every single house in Bel Air, California. Well, you're in luck because there are currently 125 homes for sale in Bel Air, and they range anywhere from $2.2 million to $22.5 million. So let's go ahead and round up and say each house costs $25 million. That means you'd need $3.125 billion to buy them all. And you'd still have $215.8 billion left over to buy even more houses in other neighborhoods. Now, what if you wanted to expand beyond Bel Air and buy the homes surrounding it? Well, there are 24 zip codes in the general Bel Air area, so if you bought all of the houses in all of those zip codes, you'd need around $47.7 billion. That's a whole lot of mansions. Number 6. Become immortal. Here's another crazy thing you could do with $247 billion. You could become immortal? How? By funding your very own research into eternal life. With that much money, you could set up dozens of labs and hire thousands of scientists to work on extending human lifespan. You could also fund clinical trials and build facilities to test out new technologies like cryonics. Plus, you could buy up all of the world's supply of rare anti-aging drugs and treatments. So yeah, with $247 billion, death is basically optional. No. 5. Buying SpaceX. A lot of people don't realize this, but SpaceX is actually worth more than Elon Musk's personal wealth. As Business Insider reports, SpaceX was valued at $36 billion in its most recent funding round. This means that Elon could buy 100% of SpaceX by giving up all of his personal wealth. Of course, that would leave him with nothing, and everyone would hate him for selling off his most prized possession. But hey, if you've got $247 billion, you don't really need anything else, do you? Number 4. Buy the Louvre. We already talked about how you could buy Da Vinci's The Last Supper, but what about the entire museum it's housed in? You could buy the Louvre for about $25 billion. That's right. The French government is open to selling the museum to the highest bidder. Of course, they probably wouldn't accept a $247 billion offer, since that would be more than the GDP of most countries. But hey, a guy can dream, right? And while you're at it, why not buy the British Museum, too? It's estimated to be worth around $87 billion. So if you're feeling generous, you could buy both museums and still have $153 billion left over to spend. No. 3. One moon. Do you remember when Elon Musk said that he planned to go bankrupt the planet by colonizing Mars? Well, turns out you can actually bankrupt the moon too. That's because the moon isn't technically owned by anyone, but anyone can claim ownership of it by establishing a permanent presence there. This is exactly what Elon plans to do with SpaceX, and if he succeeds, he'll be able to claim the entire moon as his property. At least that's according to the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which states that outer space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, is not subject to national appropriation by claim of sovereignty, whether made by a state or a non-governmental entity, or by any other means. This means that Elon could legally sell the moon for $247 billion. That would be one hell of a real estate deal. Number 2. Buy Apple. Elon Musk might be the richest man in the world, but he's still not rich enough to buy Apple. That's because Apple is currently worth about $2.8 trillion. So Elon would need to borrow about $350 billion to afford it. Yeah, even Elon Musk can't afford to buy Apple. But what about Google? Google is currently worth about $1.9 trillion. So Elon could buy it outright with his current wealth and still have $57 billion left over. Of course, that would mean that he'd no longer control Tesla or SpaceX. But hey, who cares about those companies anyway, right? Number 1, give it all away. Here's one last crazy thing you could do with $247 billion. Give it all away. That's right. You could end world hunger for $247 billion. You could also fund all sorts of other good causes, like clean energy research, poverty alleviation, and education. You could set up foundations and charities that would help billions of people around the world. Or you could just give it all away to your friends and family. Sure, they might not thank you at first, but eventually they'd realize that they had enough money to take care of themselves and future generations. So yeah, that's one way to spend all of your money. Now, check out how much money you need to be the richest person in every country. Or check out, why is Elon Musk so obsessed with Mars?